Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm John Bernard. This is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers giving you the fight news from around the world. This week is a special episode. We'll be cutting to an interview we did with Jono McAleaf in Melbourne, fighting out of his gym. I think he's got some fight news coming in Perth, so stay tuned for that. But let's preview what's happening in the world of the UFC. It feels like we're all just waiting for Khamzat versus DDP. Everything's kind of been a bit lackluster. No one's really a big fan of these, Las Vegas Apex cards.
Let's be honest. I was looking through the news this week. I was trying to look through Twitter.
Slow news week.
Not a lot happening. It's like there's that lull period in the UFC where we had that big UFC main event with Poirier versus Max Holloway. It was in New Orleans. And now we're all looking forward to DDP versus Khamzat in Chicago.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, what's next? What's next? There was some UFC last week. I don't even know who was fighting. I was actually just not that in tune with it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to DDP versus Khamzat. I feel like it's a fresh fight. It's something that's definitely the fans want to see. It's a matchup where it's kind of 50-50 who they think's going to win. That's why there's so much anticipation for it.
And we'll be on the ground in Chicago interviewing most of the card. We'll be interviewing DDP, interviewing Khamzat. So let us know what you want to see during fight week in Chicago. But let's start previewing what's happening around the world in the UFC right now. And Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's been doing a few interviews. I don't know if you've been seeing. He does them with Submission Radio. He's been doing them on Sky Sports.
Let's preview this topic with Dan Hooker, who's in the naughty corner with the UFC right now.
He is.
If anyone knows the backstory here, Dan Hooker was supposed to be in Las Vegas for International Fight Week, and he didn't show up to some media opportunities. So he's in the bad books with the UFC.
Yeah, the UFC, they took away his tickets, his seats for UFC 317, and it was because he didn't show up to his media opportunities. And he's got the shits with that. He says, all the blood, sweat, and tears that I've put out in the octagon for the UFC.
Like who cares? I don't rock up to a shitty interview.
And they treat you like that. So he says, going forward, I'm just going to treat it as a business. It is what it is. But he's been going at a few fighters that aren't taking too many fights in his division, and he's gone at Arman Tsarukyan.
Well, he's gone at fighters in his division, firstly, not taking a fight against Arman. They're saying they're ducking Arman. And he said, look, Arman Tsarukyan, I'm the only one that's going to fight you, you dumb fuck.
Yeah.
And that's end quote.
And I think that's the fight that makes the most sense. If Arman's in the bad books, Dan Hooker's in the bad books, put them together, let's see him just scrap it out. Arman's very confident that he beats him. He thinks his wrestling's just far better. He's a better fighter, and it would be easy work for him. But the thing is, Arman doesn't seem to be taking those fights. He doesn't want to fight a guy rank lower than him when he's number one contender.
No. That's a misrepresentation of Arman Tsarukyan. He's accepted every fight that's been brought
Allegedly,
forward to him.
allegedly.
He didn't want to fight Mateusz Gamrot, one, because they've fought before, and they're in the same team.
Yeah.
And Dan Hooker said, look, Gamrot's, I think, behind me in the rankings, so it would make sense to maybe he doesn't want to fight me because I'm that low in the rankings. But they've gone at each other on Twitter. There's backstory there. There's beef there. And I do think that's a great fight to make. It's maybe the main event of a fight night if they want to really do that, or it's somewhere on a main card. But I feel like both of these guys have been out for that long. Dan Hooker hasn't fought since last August.
Yeah, broke his hand.
Arman Tsarukyan hasn't fought since UFC 300, which was March of last year?
Yep.
They need to get in the octagon and be active because neither of them deserve a title shot until they fight.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Arman is he just needs one more fight before the UFC give him that eventual title shot. Pretty much get back into the good books after missing weight and not showing up for your title fight against Islam. But in saying that, I'm not going to tell Dana White how to book fights because no one knows who the next title contender is. But this is what I would do. I would go Arman versus Dan Hooker. Then you can do Max versus Charles Oliveira. That's a matchup that I think, the lightweight division kind of needs right now. And then I would make Ilia versus Gaethje. Gaethje's been calling for it. He says, if I don't get the title shot, I'll retire. Give it to him. Give him what he wants. I think it's an easy Ilia win, to be honest with you. And he's going to knock out another fan favorite. And they're the three matchups to make that'll set up the division for an Arman Tsarukyan title match.
That's exactly what Dan Hooker said in his interview. He said, that's the matchups I would make. I want to versus Arman. These guys can play it out. The only problem with that, where's Paddy Pimblett? There's no Paddy Pimblett in that equation. That's where I'm like, okay.
And he does need to fight before the end of the year.
And he needs to fight because he said, I want Abu Dhabi. Obviously wants to fight no tax. That's in Abu Dhabi. And Paddy Pimblett, let's be honest, him versus Ilia Topuria is the money fight.
Paddy is the draw in this division.
He's the draw. So like Dan Hooker, as much as you want to face Arman Tsarukyan, and you can maybe say, oh yeah, look, Charles and Max make sense, which it does make sense. I do agree with him. But where does Paddy fit into that? Because realistically, Ilia should be the one taking time off. And Paddy should versus Justin Gaethje. Like, you got to have title eliminators to get to the title. You can't just go straight for the title because then a contender gets left out.
Well, speaking of the fights to make, Chael Sonnen has come out and said Ilia versus Arman Tsarukyan is 100% the plan. Now, I don't know if we can believe Chael Sonnen anymore. Every time he breaks some news or he says the UFC is thinking this, it never takes place. And it's almost like he's going out there just throwing out information just as a diversion. Ilia right now is performing his walkout song in front of 50,000 people in Spain. The guy's an absolute superstar in Spain. He deserves his time off. I'm surprised they haven't selected Spain as a location yet. But if that's the case, Arman has been going at Ilia non-stop, saying you're ducking. He's going at him, calling him a duck on Twitter.
Referencing Islam's quote in the UFC saying,
Yes.
Dana, you got to put a quote in the toilet for Ilia Topuria.
Do you think this will actually work to get the Ilia fight? Do you think this gets under Ilia's skin at all?
It doesn't get under his skin at all, but it does well to market the fight. That's the benefit of going at someone on Twitter, because the fans get a bit of intrigue from it.
And can you believe Chael Sonnen?
Chael Sonnen is the biggest liar in the UFC. There's no way you can believe a word he says. He's put out so many news headlines, whether it be about Conor McGregor, whether it be about some UFC fighter. And every single time he's put out a news headline, it's been proven wrong. So he's the biggest liar in the UFC. But in saying that, he said 90% the fight's done.
I'm pretty sure he said that John Jones versus Tom Aspinall was pretty much done for earlier this year as well.
He said that twice.
So again, his track record with breaking news is kind of shit. And I love Uncle Chael. He's the bad guy. I would vote for him in Congress. I know he wants to run for a Senate seat in Oregon.
He said he'll cheat to win.
He said he would cheat to win. And I love the honesty. I love how honest Chael is. But he just gets it wrong when he's trying to be the Woj of UFC.
In his defense, though, the only thing he's kind of gotten wrong here is the maths, because he said it's 90% done. Arman Tsarukyan said it's 70% done.
Okay.
So if Arman's saying it's 70%, Chael's saying 90%, I don't know who's got better mail. Arman, the actual fighter, or Chael.
And Arman has done what he's needed to do to get on the good side. He was the backup fighter for the title fight earlier this year with Ilia Topuria. So, again, he's proven that he can make weight. So, maybe Uncle Chael is right on this one for the first time in a long time.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the narrative all year since he pulled out with his back injury was he needs to fight one more time, win probably convincingly, then he'll get another title shot. Because, let's be honest, he did mess up a whole main event. He messed up a whole card in Little Armenia, which is Los Angeles, which he's Armenian. So they kind of set up the fight for him as a fan favourite, and he pulled out last minute. So
and he doesn't look. I know he's training with Khamzat right now, but he doesn't look like he's in 100% prep mode for a title fight either.
He does. Besides the fast food,
he's been eating a lot of in and out. And he's been celebrating at Armenian weddings, just throwing cash around. I don't know if you've seen that. It looks like he's pretty relaxed.
What would you prefer, mate? The caviar or the in and out?
Caviar, because he's showing he's got money. He's a character. He's a little rich boy.
Just blowing your whole fighter pay.
I'm an Arman fan, but again, I would probably lean to Ilia towards that. But let's move over to Khabib. Continues to make headlines. Every time Khabib jumps on a podcast, everyone asks him about certain fighters, whether it's Conor McGregor, Islam's next matchup.
Well, this wasn't a podcast. This was a
talk.
I think it was like a Muslim talk in New York. So he came to New York, and I think they released the footage on Sneako's stream, actually, party stream. That's where they got this footage from.
Okay, yeah. And he was asked about Conor McGregor and his downfall, and he says this is kind of almost karma.
Punishment. He said punishment.
Yeah, he said it's his punishment for how he conducted himself during his career, and it was always going to be this way. He was going to have a downfall.
He said
this.
The drugs, the alcohol, the partying, this is the punishment for what you're doing.
Again, he's going from a really religious aspect, but then the redeeming quality of this, he says, but he can change. With so many lives, there's always in this world, there's a chance for someone to come back. You think after all the hate that these two have towards each other, from that matchup to the name calling, Khabib still has a humility to say, you know what, everyone deserves a second chance, and he has the ability to come back.
And I think he's saying it as an inspiration story. If Conor does come back, he will inspire so many other people to get out of the gutter and do things. And
not that he's in the gutter. Let's be clear.
Nah, he's pretty far down.
He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His own personal brand. He's always on a yacht. I don't think you can call that in the gutter. Yes, he probably has substance abuse problems. He's cheating on his wife all the time, and he wants to run for politics in Ireland, but I wouldn't call this the gutter.
I'd say from an Islamic religious perspective, he's pretty much in the gutter.
Okay.
And look, I do appreciate Khabib saying, look, no matter what he's been through, there is the redemption here. He can come back. He can be almost forgiven and redeem himself. Go on the men and do something good.
I respect it from Khabib. But he had every opportunity to say, you get what you deserve, cop that.
He said that before as well, though. So maybe it's just
but in saying that, he says, you know what? You can always come back from this, and what a story it will be when McGregor eventually comes back. And guess what? He's in the testing pool. He went and did a piss test for USADA.
He showed it.
He showed it. Not that he's looking the best. He does look like he's on some form of drugs. But I'll tell you what, we could see Conor McGregor back very soon. And he's saying the White House card is where it's going to be.
Look, the mohawk, I'm not a fan, Conor.
No, neither.
That makes you look older. Makes you do look like a drug abuser, let's be honest. Yeah. The mohawk does give off, I take drugs, a kind of vibe. But if they could squash their beef, Khabib and Conor. Someone said, I read a comment online, it's like, when Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson sat down, I think it was maybe 10, 15 years after he beat his ear off. If they can do that, if they can get Khabib and Conor sitting down on a podcast, hashing it out, talking it out.
It always happens everywhere.
numbers.
I mean, Kobe and Shaq, I'm sure they got back together. Yeah, Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, they cried together. It would be nice to eventually see these guys shake hands and call it a
I
day.
do feel like, ultimately, Conor McGregor will have a comeback. I know he's going through a lot right now. There's
too much money to be made. He's got to do it.
But like, he's just going to have to go take a clean run, not take any drugs, get off the alcohol. Maybe, I don't know, maybe his presidential run is what kicks off his new Conor McGregor era, because he does think he's going to win the presidency.
Let's talk about this. Conor McGregor has started a petition because he wants to be on the ballot for the Irish presidency.
So currently in Ireland, you have to get selected. I think it's almost like a parliamentary way to be nominated for president. Conor McGregor starting a petition to change the Irish constitution to be elected for president, to be able to run for president.
Yeah, what's going to happen is he's not going to be on the ballot. I think Kanye West tried to do this in the United
And he got
States.
on. He got on.
He got on, but
In
I
some
think
states.
very different Ireland and America. I think they operate on very different systems. And he currently has a case right now, a civil case.
It's settled.
Yeah, but he's lost his appeal as well. So
That means it's settled. And it's civil.
he's confident that he can, and he's inviting Donald Trump to Ireland to come to his Forge brewery or whatever it is. But look, I don't think it's realistic for him to be, there's a lot of Irish Americans saying that they could see him winning it. But if he's not even on the ballot and the election's coming up pretty soon, it's not looking likely he's going to be the Irish president. Do you actually think he can win?
Look, I may be called stupid for thinking this,
Yeah.
but I do think Conor McGregor can win the presidency in Ireland. We're in a timeline right now where Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in sport and politics where all these randoms are getting into politics. I mean,
Triple H was doing his spit at the water at the White House.
the Nelk Boys just interviewed Netanyahu, so we're living in a pretty
Anything
weird time
can
right
happen.
now. Anything
That's
can happen. And Conor McGregor positioning himself strategically with Donald Trump, politically that might just give him a push to win. I don't know. I don't know what politics is like in Ireland, but he may have a chance.
That would be a crazy timeline if we see current active UFC fighter and president of Ireland, Conor McGregor.
Well, you got to think, like, how many presidents, say if he does win the presidents, have sent nudes out before?
You could maybe count them on one hand.
So it'd be very, very rare.
Including Trump.
Someone that's, gone on live streams like gambling.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor would be one of one. So like it would be something that would be hilarious. And the content you could get out of Conor McGregor as president. Imagine him going to the UN, representing Ireland, just telling every single leader off.
Who the fuck is that guy? Like just I was saying, shut your mouth.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean he's already ordered, Senator Eileen Flynn to brush her teeth in a voice memo.
That was
yeah.
hilarious.
So he has. Look, I think he's got the charisma to go and do it. I just don't know if the Irish public are going to vote him as president. Maybe it's something for down the line when he's done with UFC altogether.
So he's still a bit young.
Yeah.
Anyway, but going to what Khabib also said and also maybe leaked while at this conference, he said Islam versus JDM will be in Madison Square Garden in November.
Huge. That's huge. Now, as a fan, and I know we're going to be there covering it with JDM, to be in Madison Square Garden is huge. It's the mecca of combat sports, boxing, now UFC. They're there every November. JDM is literally having his toughest task as his first title defense in Madison Square Garden. It actually doesn't get bigger than this for an Aussie fighter, which is absolutely huge. The thing is, Islam wants it to be at Madison Square Garden. He wants this big spectacle. And his management wanted that. I think we're just playing into everything that Islam wants.
Well, that's
the big
the thing,
stage,
like,
the big arena.
I feel like obviously he wasn't put on the Abu Dhabi card. He wasn't main eventing Abu Dhabi. So really the headlines, Khabib released this. It's like, man, it was like...
You got to put two and two together. Is it going to be in December? It was going to be in November.
And I think Islam's come out multiple times and said, I want to fight in New York. I want to fight at the Garden. So like this was happening. This was coming. So now it's not official yet. That Dana might still move it, I don't know. But if Khabib is saying it's going to happen. I think the last time he did it was Islam versus Arman in LA. So he does have pretty good mail. But I think JDM, he said it before when he came down from Montreal, spent time in New York. He said he wants to fight there as well. So it's going to be a banger of a fight.
Mate, and it's not very far off. The fact that we're going to get JDM fighting pretty soon, defending the title, is pretty entertaining.
What
It's
are we in,
great
August, November, 3 months?
It's great for Australians. He'll probably start prepping within another month or two. And if he thought he had to prepare hard for wrestling Bilal Muhammad, he's going to have to step it up even a notch with Craig Jones to fight Islam. So it's going to be a very entertaining fight. And I'm going to stick with my boy JDM. We're going to be there on the ground having to back the Aussie. Might be a bit tough trying to get an interview with Islam in that respect.
Okay, now I do want to transition here. It's not a game, but
Okay.
this is something that went viral on Twitter, which I found hilarious.
Okay.
And because I know the answer to this, I've got to show you fresh live. He doesn't know this, so this is
Okay.
the first time he's seeing this.
Show me.
So neither Micallef or Jack Della have their real arms on their UFC profile picture.
Okay, so you're saying the UFC's done a Photoshop job here?
They've done a great Photoshop job, but can you guess whose arm is on Micallef and JDM here?
Yeah, look, the arm hair I think is a giveaway. I don't think Jack Della's that hairy on his arm.
It looks like it was. I thought it maybe it had been Micallef's arm.
Yeah, because if you look at Micallef's opposite arm there, it's far more hairier on the right side. Can you not tell that?
Yeah, you can.
It might be a lighting thing. So I'm going to go, it's Jack Della's arm. What do we think?
No. So it's neither of their arms. It's a completely third-party fighter.
It's a do you know who the fighter is?
Yeah. I picked it because you got to think who's got dark hair, who's the previous champion that they could Photoshop
That they can
on.
use with the belt. Okay, dark hair. In the welterweight division?
Doesn't have to be welterweight, could be any
Shit.
division.
Dark hair with a champion. I'm at a loss for words. I'm going to go, it's not Drickus.
Yeah, I think it does suit Micallef. So I would say my deduction was it's a Dagestani arm.
It's Islam's arm.
It's Islam's arm.
Really?
Yeah. So the UFC has photoshopped Islam's arm onto JDM, which does look very foreign. He doesn't look
Yeah.
like he has dark hair.
No.
You don't think the UFC could just bring the fighters in for a fresh photo shoot?
They would have one of JDM, but maybe his face is all fucked
Yeah, but
up.
I'm saying like just hey, like go to some studio in Perth where he lives and say, let's just take some fresh photos for your
Yeah,
profile.
yeah.
We don't need to Photoshop a title on.
Yeah, but maybe it's got to fit the graphics and everything like that.
multi-billion-dollar business. You can't afford a
Hey,
photographer.
to the untrained eye, I would think that's JDM's right arm, and he's just got black hair and he's hairy on that arm.
But yeah, I didn't notice the Micallef arm was much hairier on the other side. That was a good pickup.
Yeah. So you would tell that it's someone else's, but
That's
obviously
why I was like,
Islam probably does laser hair removal and Micallef doesn't.
I just thought like, okay, that looks like Micallef's arm, so let's
Yeah.
go. This is going to be Dagestani.
And you're
And
confirmed it is
it was-
Islam's arm.
it was Islam's
How
arm.
does everyone know it's Islam's arm?
They matched that up to his profile.
Okay.
Unless
okay.
they're photoshopping that one as
Photoshop
well.
that one. Exactly right. I guess we'll never
But
know.
because he's a long champion, they've got fresh photos of him.
Yeah, but make sure you're staying tuned to our interviews on our channel. We'll be on the ground in Chicago next week. I want to thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to John Bernard K on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure you're staying tuned for Jono McAleaf coming up next. Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm John Bernard. We are here in Melbourne at the Australian Elite Team Gym. I'm here with Jono McAleaf. John, it's our second interview in the gym. Time has passed since our first interview, but you've been doing a lot. You've been training with Rob Whittaker. You've been in Abu Dhabi recently. Give us an update. What's been happening? How's the body feeling? Have you been?
Yeah, well, I just got back on Monday this week, so I don't mean to timestamp it, but
That's all right.
just got back this week, a couple of days ago. I went up to Abu Dhabi, so actually we'll run it back a little bit before there. I was down in Sydney for 4 weeks to help Rob out for his camp, and they decided to take me over because they thought that it was a good match and gave him good work for his opponent, De Ridder. And so I went over with him, trained a little bit, gave him looks, and tried to get him the win, which unfortunately fell a little bit short, but was a hell of a fight, man.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What did you think of the result? Because everyone online was saying it was a pretty fucking close fight. And there was a couple touch and go calls. I don't know, the glove grab. And, I don't know. I personally thought Rob kind of did enough. Very close fight. What did you think of it?
Yeah, man, I was actually sitting next to Gilbert Burns, and he's actually one of De Ridder's training partners. And I looked at him before this, just said, "What do you think?" And he went, So we were all sort of like, man, that was just a fight where it could have went any way. And you can't really cry out robbery because it was a tough fight. Both sides had some massive moments, especially Rob, with definitely the biggest moments of the fight. I mean, he almost KO'd him. I don't know how he woke up. But
He shouldn't have got up from that shot. No way. I thought that shot was putting him to sleep.
Yeah, had he not cheated and grabbed the gloves, who knows,
Those
man.
ground and pounds, yeah. Would you think in those situations, like, point deductions should be necessary?
I think one like that where it is like that big.
Pivotal moment.
Yeah, man, and you have to, but I think that just makes it such a hard call for the referee, like to in that instant moment to call it, stop it, and then to pull him up on it.
Being in the moment or being with Rob's team, what was the aftermath of it? What was it like backstage after the fight? How was he feeling? Because not that anyone was calling for him to retire because he's still got a lot to give. I think there's some good matchups for him in that division. But What was the feeling like after the fight?
Well, at first, it was obviously devastation. You know, he'd just come off a loss in the first round against Khamzat. For him, it was like, man, I want to, get back in the winning column. But after a little bit, it started to settle down. Rob sort of was just glad that he was able to put a good fight up for the fans. You know what I mean? He's he's been around and done it for so long that, yes, I lost and I didn't get the win, but I got to put on a fight for the fans. And he was sort of happy that he could.
And like we were saying, you haven't fought since February, since you made your UFC debut in Sydney. But you've gained a lot of experience. You pretty much did almost a whole camp with Rob. You went and did a fight week with Rob in Abu Dhabi. What have you learnt from being with a world champion like Rob?
Man, I mean, I would sit here all day and tell you everything I've learnt, but I think just the top of the list would probably be just how composed and how someone who's been in the sport for so long. Rob's been doing it since before I even started MMA. Over 15 years now he's been, and he's still a student of the game. He's still learning and asking questions. Like, he came to me and asked me a few questions, and I was like, "You're asking me? Dude, I've had one fight in the UFC." But I think that's it. It's just to always be a student and to always ask questions and, try and learn and develop.
Yeah, and what was the fight week like? I mean, you've had a fight week yourself, know media, but what was it like being in Abu Dhabi during fight week? What was the build-up like?
Yeah, it was unreal, especially being around him for the main event. I mean, it's a whole different thing where, everything is about you. You walking down the streets, you see posters attached to the arenas with Rob's face on it. It's like, fuck yeah, we're here. We're Rob's. He's the big show. But outside of that, I think that he keeps it real chill. I mean, he probably gamed 3/4 of every day and just chilled out and relaxed. And then when it came time to go, he was ready to go. So it was almost like he would hibernate until it was time to do interviews or whatever it is, and then he was like,
was it like a good little preview for you? Because it's like that's where you almost want to be, the top of the card, see how he gets treated throughout a media week. Because you're kind of by his side. I was watching Instagram stories. You're there where he's doing signatures. You're there when he's doing media. What was it like, kind of getting the front row seat of this is where I want to be?
It was unreal, man. But it was also like a good time for me to look and see, this is where I'm going to be in a few years, and it's this is my introduction to it. I learned firsthand how this guy does it, so I know when I do come and get to that point, I know what to do, and a better view.
Well, I mean, since we caught up, we've been talking about you getting back in. You're saying you want to fight. Are we going to see on UFC Perth? I know it's going to be an Aussie stacked card. Is that where you want to be, September?
Yeah, 100%. UFC, all the welterweights, I'm ready to go. So if any of you want to go, let's do it. Perth, it's a beautiful state. I mean, there's so much to see. Let's go, have a scrap, and you can have a holiday there afterwards.
Yeah, it's beautiful in Perth. I've been there a couple of times. And the UFC love to keep going back there. But I want to ask you, the state of the welterweight division right now, it's pretty kind of jammed up now that Islam is at the top. Last time we spoke, we didn't know where he was going to end up. Now he's first in line for a title shot. How do you see Islam JDM going down?
Look, man, everyone's sort of saying that JDM's going to get starched. I'm seeing a lot of that. I think JDM's going to hold it. I really do. I think JDM's going to do his thing, be crafty, get the win, and then who knows, 2-3 years you might see a fucking main event. 2 Aussies fighting for the title
there you go.
in Melbourne, Australia.
JDM versus Jono, the captain.
Imagine that, guy.
That'd be pretty crazy. No, but I want to get your thoughts because everyone's been in contention about who should be in line next. I know Islam's kind of jumped to the front of the line. There's a lot of contenders there. Sean Brady's calling out. You've got he's been out injured for a while. Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Yeah.
You've got Bilal, who's kind of wants his rematch. Other fighters, Kamaru Usman's back in the mix
Morales,
now.
There's a heap.
So, who do you think should be next in line for a title shot?
After Islam?
Ian Gary's kind of put his name in the ring. Who do you think should be next in line?
Yeah, I definitely think that obviously Islam's the number one. Next, I think Shavkat. I think he deserves it, the way he's
been off for a long time, though.
Yeah, I actually did I saw him in Abu Dhabi, and when I got back a day or two after, he got in a car crash. I think
saw
that he
that
got
online.
injured quite bad.
No, so his partner and his son, I believe, were in the car crash.
He
He wasn't in it, but they, I think, luckily are okay. Came out with some injuries, but yeah, I mean, he has been out for over a year and a half now. Do you think he should still go to the front of the line?
That's a good point, man.
Yeah.
I think that maybe we have a title fight, Jack and Islam, and then have a title eliminator bout after that. Who do we see in that? I think that Shavkat v.
Maybe a Sean Brady?
Yeah, Sean Brady. I think that Sean's still a step away. That's a good one, man. I don't know. Who should Shavkat fight as a title eliminator?
I don't think people want to see Ian Gary again, Shavkat Ian Gary, but yeah, I don't know, Shavkat Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, I think Kamaru's a good one. I mean, he's stated as one of the best welterweights to ever do it. I think he deserves that.
Now, in terms of your own growth, say you get on UFC Perth, all things go well. What's your title to climb? What's your kind of path to climbing up the rankings in the welterweight division? Do you see yourself? You want to be active, and it's hard to get fights, especially here in Australia. But what's your path there? Do you want to fight 2 more times next year? Do you want another fight before the end of the year?
Yeah.
How active do you want to be?
Well, throughout my entire career, in a calendar year, I've fought over three times. Well, it's like if you were to average it out, it'd be 3.5, but you can't have a half fight. So I would like to get another one this year. Obviously, I've been put in the sideline a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see. But in a calendar year, so by February of next year, I want to have a 3rd fight. So we'll just wait and see who the UFC offers me. In terms of who, I think that if I can get 4 fights in before I get a ranked opponent and then start to run up the rankings, because I know when I do get there, I'm going to run up quick. So yeah, let's see. By the end of 2026, I should be ranked.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at other Aussie NZ fighters in the light heavyweight division, they've been pretty active. Navajo Sterling's put his hand up. Steve Urseg's been on a few international cards, so it's like, I think once you start running up those wins, you'll be getting placed on cards. But I want to talk to you about Aussies, because Aussies are on a bit of a roll. Yes, Jimmy Crute just got a 1st round submission. Jake Matthews, 1st round submission. What do you think it is about Aussies now that are really on this bit of a roll? Volk got a win this year as well. Regained the championship. Good time to be an Aussie in the UFC?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think the Aussies have always been real good fighters. They've been great fighters. The regional scene's been super high level for a really long time. But what we're starting to see now is that we're all starting to come together. So all the guys from Melbourne, all the guys from Victoria, even from Sydney, if Rob's flying me over, he's flying Jimmy and stuff over too. So we're starting to use each other, and that's just leveling up everyone. I think that's what it is there.
Yeah, I don't know if you've spoken to the boys, but do you think there's much of a difference from when Jimmy and Jake first got into the UFC to what the UFC is like now? I don't know, has it got more professional? Has the training got a bit more intense? What have you kind of found out? Because again, you haven't even had your 2nd fight in the UFC yet.
Yeah, man.
What are your thoughts? Do you think there's much of a difference from the UFC from when Jake and Jimmy first got into how the UFC is now?
100%. I think the biggest difference from back in the day to now is that there's a clear path. So there are guys who, it doesn't seem like a faraway dream anymore. It's right there for everyone. So people are really gunning for it. It means more training partners for guys, more people really going for it. Instead of going for the AFL, people are like, all right, let's fight in the UFC. It's right there. There's a clear route to get there. And I think that's the big difference that we're starting to see.
Definitely picking up on the Australian regional scene, more pathways to entry. But let's talk about your own personal training regimen, because I follow you on Instagram. Yeah. It's like you live, sleep, breathe, eat training. Okay, you're in the sauna, you're recovering all the time. You're getting 2 sessions in a day. Talk me through, up-and-coming UFC fighter, what's your training regimen like?
Yeah, on my big days, which will be a Monday, we'll talk through that. Wake up 6 o'clock. Got S&C 7:30. From there, I go straight to the HQ, Combat 1. Then we'll do about 2 hours of either striking or grappling and striking, depending on the day. Yeah, an hour of each. So we'll do an hour of each. Then we go home, get a feed, see the boy, be a little bit of dad, and then head back pretty much 5 till 7. Do another couple hours. And then from there, head off to the sauna, do a bit of recovery, and then home by 8 o'clock. So I'm in and out of home for a few hours, but it's a bit of a grind, but I love it, man.
Do you think your time, before training, you're on a job site?
Yeah.
A lot. Did that give you the mindset of the grind training that you can kind of get through those type of days?
100%, man.
Yeah.
Used to be 8 hours of tiling, concreting, doing something rough all day, but now it's like, I love to do this.
Yeah.
So if I can just immerse myself, and there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, so if I can spend those hours in positions, doing techniques, moving the body around, it might not be hard, but I'm doing it. And then by the time we get to the fight, you've spent hours and hours on top of each other working in those positions,
No diddy. On
No
top of
diddy,
each other.
yeah.
I want to strength and conditioning in the morning. Like I said, you're a welterweight. You don't want to get too heavy. You're already a big boy. So what's your strength and conditioning like in the mornings?
It changes and it ranges. Like it can be from explosive movements down to heavy weights, which we start to back off away from.
You don't want to get too big.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm already quite a thick, big welterweight. So as we get closer, 8 weeks out, we're thinking about explosive movements. Sometimes it might just be a bit of cardio, but it ranges. But that's a trade secret.
Okay, I like it. Now, I want to get your thoughts because you were on Dana White's Contender Series.
Yeah.
Very intense process of fighting for a UFC contract. We've got an Aussie, George Mangos.
Yes, we do.
Fighting on the Contender Series. What advice would you give to George as someone that has fought on the Dana White Contender Series?
In the Contender Series, they try and make you feel like it doesn't matter. Like, the fights, no walkout. You open the doors yourself, you run through. I think just treat it the same way you do every other fight, even though they sort of try and water it down a little bit and make you feel like it's not a big thing. This is your time to shine. So go out there and do what you do, man.
Yeah. And I mean, how does it differ, do you think, from a normal fight? Say you've had a fight in the UFC. What was the main differences? I mean, you get there probably a couple of weeks beforehand or a week beforehand. How does it work?
I think that it depends on your team. For me, it was pretty much the exact same because we treat things the same way for our team. But when we did get in there, you go into the room, it's quiet. There's not a single, there's no music, no one cheering. That was probably the biggest difference. In terms of fight week, obviously very little to no media. But outside of that, not a heap, man. It's up to your team and how you dictate and you treat the fight week.
Yeah, and I want to get your thoughts on Perth. Is there a welterweight that you've eyed out that you potentially want to fight on there? I know nothing's been set in stone yet. The main event's been announced. Carlos Ulberg's going to be in the main event. Do you see a fighter in the welterweight division and go, just give me him in Perth, or you're just saying UFC, give me anyone?
Yeah, honestly, give me anyone at this point. There's been a heap of names that I've been looking at, and I see that some of them get cut, and then I look through the rankings, and then people are getting smashed, and it's just like, dude, honestly, just give me anyone. I'm good to go, and I need a fight. I need to get paid. I've got a job. I need to get paid at this point. So let's do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Pay the man his money. Get him on the card. He's ready to go. John, I want to thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure. Can't wait to see you back in. Perth's going to be an absolute ripper. Make sure you're tuning in. And John, until next time, I'm sure I'll see you down there.